I know Postal Joe, or what is it, Aunt Passion says, I know Martae worked hard on the intro, but the AI looks kind of odd. Well, it does to me, but that's the best I could do because I'm an amateur at this.
So it looks pretty solid.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. It's better than nothing. But anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
I had an intro I was going to roll out, and this was the intro. We have a dual union that's going on right now. Let's go ahead and roll that out right now. Okay, let's bring that out real quick. Hold on real quick. Let me bring this up. That up real quick. All right, give me 1 second real quick. I got a message from one guy. Hold on real quick. If you can entertain the crowd real quick, I could see if I could bring this guy on real quick. Just be 1 second.
For sure. Yes. So yeah, Martae, obviously he's talking to The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. Huh? That's who he is texting with. I don't know if you know, but Martae and The Rock, they used to work out together all the time. They would go
not his daughter. not his daughter. That's not happening.
Not his daughter. Not at all. Daughter, boom, down thumbs. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, about my story earlier. So yeah, Crazy Bone was a no-show, and so this it was unfortunate, and it was the downfall of the IWL. But to my credit, the wrestling side was fucking flawless. The wrestling side was good, and that freaking the wrestling side of the show is up on the IWL YouTube channel. You could see it for yourself. But it was an ambitious project. It was ambitious, but I told myself if this doesn't pan out the way that I want it to, that's it. It's over. And that is when I decided to retire, because it didn't pan out the way that I wanted to. It didn't go the way that I wanted. It was a money sinker. It was a thumbs down. And that's when I was like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to take a break. And that break turned into 10-year retirement.
So I'm trying to see if this guy can come in real quick, because apparently people who are in the industry have side jobs. Maybe not going to make any assumptions whether or not of how much money they make or have side jobs. But he messaged me right now. I'm not going to say who it is, but I'm going to see if he can at least call into the show right now, because he may have time. Because I'm like, if you can tune into the show, you could definitely come on the show for a second. This guy has worked with Snoop Dogg. He's worked with who else? And it's really weird. And I'll tell you this, how weird it is. He's met Jay Dyer. Shit, you not. He's worked with Jay Dyer and Jim Bob, but also mainly works with Snoop Dogg. It's so weird. But I'm going to see if he can. So, yeah, it's a weird combination. But I'm going to see if he can come on the show for a second. We've been talking for a minute. But he just, of all the people that messaged me, he did. But we can kind of shoot the shit for a little bit. But I'll play Mass Pike's intro real quick. This was the guy where, you know what? Like, let's just say that he had an accident, couldn't come in or whatever, something happened. I want to do a redo on episode 4. We're just going to say that this one may be a bust if the other guy, who I don't want to mention, doesn't come in, that has worked with Snoop Dogg, work with Jay Dyer to some point, and Jim Bob does. This guy has worked with damn near everybody. You probably heard one of his pieces of music on the radio recently too. Actually, it's a pretty decent hit. It's crazy, the people. But anyways, if he doesn't show up, I think we're going to do a redo on episode 4 and have him come in because I've been working with him for a while. It's not like him to not respond. So this is weird. That's why I have a instant response of concern more than anything else. But I'm going to play the intro, and this is who we're going to have on the show because I said I wouldn't ruin the surprise for everybody. But obviously, we've already said who it is, and we're going to still keep it a mystery on the next episode. We're just not going to tell you which one he's going to be on. Let's roll out his intro.
I've done it. I think I'm giving me what? Larry Hoover. Girl, you need a little drink in your system. Yeah. Yeah. Tell me what you want, I can get it for you. Baby, all you need, I'm the boss, I get it all for you. Just to be your man, baby, let me be your man. Okay, got you. Tell me what you want, I can get it for you. Baby, I'm all you need, I'm the boss, I get it all for you. Just to be your man, oh, baby, let me be your man. Oh, yeah. Prada and Louis, platinum chains and diamond rings. Some Maserati, baby, got it all for you. Just to be your man, oh, baby, let me be your man. Oh. I'm telling you that I just wanna love you, baby. Oh, I just wanna love you, baby. Here,
no love, straight mob.
First class from love, motion picture film is my show. And in the world, so surreal, you're a treasure. I need you in my world. I found love here in Paris. Oh, I found love. You already know we're in Paris, France right now. I can no good pretend. Answers and it is. I am speaking for every man who says. See, we out here in Toulouse, you feel me? Your boy Max Mike Miles.
Yeah, so that was the artist that we were going to bring on. There are a lot of stories that I'll tell you about my run-ins with a lot of these guys who are in the industry, a lot of the artists. But he's worked for Rick Ross, Maybach Music. He's written songs for Jamie Foxx, a lot of industry artists, and more. When I was working with him in the industry, so that's the thing, though, is like I'll even talk about my relationship with these guys. So with Mass Pike Miles, I don't know if it's too much to kind of reveal a little bit, but I can say this much. I was helping him with a pescatarian diet because of his preferences at the time. And he was traveling through Europe on tour at the time. And we were working together. There are also other industry artists that I've worked with. I've worked through RL, through the group Next. I don't know if you ever heard of that. They came out with the song Wifey. So I've worked with him. He has since got a personal trainer who stole him from me, actually, because that happens in the industry too. So I've worked with a lot of celebs. I've worked with Carrot Top. I personal trained him in Vegas because he has a residency out there. I've trained with a bunch of people. DJ AM, trained with him, like a bunch of other people. I think me and Tiesto were at a gym right now, and are at the time in Vegas. I forgot what club it was in. It was a gym. But he saw me working out with this, training with this other DJ, and Tiesto walks in. And I couldn't even get a word in. The guy interrupts and was shaking hands with the other DJ, and we're talking. And he said, well, he's great. He does good work. And then he said, you do? And then I shook his hand. He walked off. So I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be working with Tiesto or not. So I had a lot of run-ins with these people. There were times like when I told you when I ran into Jean-Claude Van Damme and Mickey Rourke, I got a training session with them and I started training with them. And I don't want to go into that because I don't want to divulge too much information about what was discussed, but that was a great conversation. But I've met people who came and gone. Like it's crazy.
Did you train Mickey Rourke for his role in The Wrestler?
No, that was way afterwards when I was training with him, and he wouldn't stop talking. He kept talking about his first marriage, and I forgot what movie he was saying that he met her on the set. Like they met during that movie, and he was talking, but he kept all right, let me stop. I don't want to get into his business.
Yeah.
Like, but Van Damme was looking. Van Damme was like, "Will you just shut the like, we're trying to train here, and you're like talking about these. We came here to escape these problems. Like,
yeah.
It's like, so it's me, him, and Danny Hester, who had won the Olympia, the classic physique Olympia, the first one. He's the first reigning person. We're going to get him on the podcast. He said that he wants to come on the podcast, so it's only natural for me to get him on. And of course, if Danny's going to be on, you know who else is going to be on there at the time. So it's like, and then if Mickey's on, I told you that the reclusive so-and-so is going to be on. So it's like this trickle down effect of like, if I can get one person to come on, everybody else is going to follow suit. And it's weird how this works. If I'm on, Mass Pike Miles was supposed to show up. So that, I guess it didn't work out that way, but we're going to find out what happened. Hopefully he's okay. He's got a family and stuff. So I know people got their own lives and things going on, but back to this. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I've had a lot of experiences in the industry. I didn't want to get on here just talk about me and stuff, but a lot of these people, it's like if I go through my Rolodex, I'd be like, damn, I can't believe I met them and I actually know them. Like, and we have conversations sporadically. Maybe this person like once every 3 months, one person every month, one person every so often, like every other week or whatever. And hold on, here we go.
First and foremost, I want to.
Oh shit! Never mind. I saw a head. I was like, okay, hold on. Who's backstage? False alarm.
False alarm. False alarm.
So, I was like, what the hell?
Hey, so Martae, my question I had for you is, these some of these people in the music industry, how come we haven't gotten a Martae Ruelas freaking song? Why haven't we seen you in the studio yet?
What? Because I can't sing. I have other skills.
They got auto tune. It would be perfect.
Look, okay, if you're gonna put my feet to the fire, I saw you dancing backstage. You got rhythm. How come you're not a backup dancer? What's up? No, hold on. Let me go ahead and be a snitch and rat you off to your audience. You guys don't know this, but I can see him on camera as the music's playing.
They saw me.
He was bobbing his head. Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah,
the guy's got rhythm. He could be a dancer.
Oh, no, I can't. I'm like, no, I can't.
Hold on.
But by the way, there's no auto-tune for dancing, though. There's no auto-tune for dancing.
You can keep Vic off of only OF if you make sure that you pay these super chats and make sure that he's paid up. Avoid that from happening so he doesn't become that kind of backup dancer. Let's avoid that.
Yes, let's avoid that at all costs. No one has to say that.
At all costs, yeah. So I don't know what's going on, but I hopefully he's okay, man. God bless my brother Miles. Hopefully everything's going okay with him and his family and stuff. But I had a bunch of questions lined up that I was going to ask him so that way people could get to know him. I know him pretty well, but he grew up having kind of like a semi-rough life, man. And I wanted to get him into talking about all this stuff and break down his roots, how he got into the industry, his meeting with Rick Ross and Maybach Music, how that got started, how the split kind of happened, what prompted it, without mentioning too many names because there's a little bit of beef I don't want to get into. Also, I do want to throw a nugget of drama out here. Vic, you and I were talking. There was supposed to not only be Mass Pike Miles on this podcast, but there was supposed to be somebody else who is associated with 50 Cent that I wanted on the podcast. But the only problem with this is Rick Ross and 50 Cent don't mix. So I'm just going to be honest right now because 50 Cent is beefing with T.I. With this beef going on right now, Rick Ross shot shots at 50 Cent. And the guy that's working on 50 Cent's new, I think I could say this right now. I think I could, it's not a secret. He's working on a paid in full series right now. And the guy's doing production for 50 Cent's music, the production. He's doing all that stuff. He's a good friend of mine. I was going to have him on the show, but because this drama popped off and Mass Pike Miles is associated with Rick Ross, I don't think that would have been a good combo. And then I had to play kind of middleman for a bit. And I had said, hey, we're a neutral party. We're not involved in this. We just want people to show up and be nice. And of course, that did I don't know. Possibly we can have them on at separate times if Mass Pike Miles wants to show up again. But my 40XL, damn it, I said his name. My other guy, maybe on at a separate time. But yeah, that's going to be a fantastic interview as well too. I met him through the sport as well too. So had a pretty fulfilling career, which isn't over yet, but it's pretty exciting knowing a lot of these guys. But also, I met a lot of friends along the way and made friends, and the brotherhood has increased for sure.
Nice, yeah. It sounds like it, man. Sounds like sounds like the brotherhood is pretty big, man, in your circles. So that's pretty awesome.
There's a person in the wrestling circles who has without saying his name, you're going to know who I'm talking about. I mentioned his name. He's going to be on the podcast too. I don't want to. So Vic's audience, I just want to let you guys know the reason why I'm talking in kind of mystery and being very ambiguous is because I do want to kind of sheath the names of, keep the name sheath of who's going to be on the podcast, because this prevents a lot of infiltration, people trying to bombard our comment sections, and nefarious people from trying to just disrupt these presentations that we're going to do. That's literally what we're doing, is a presentation of somebody's life and letting you get to know these people. Like Mark from Deadliest Catch was on. The guy from World War Debate on. Some bodybuilding legends I brought on that a lot of people, if you're in that sport, you're going to know who the hell these guys are. Like all these people. I think I did. Oh gosh, I do want to say who this person is. I'll message you. Damn, I hate that I have to be ambiguous because the damn P-verse that's on here that likes to infiltrate and bombard channels. Like, if it wasn't that, I'd tell you guys who it is. But he's going to be on. I've been on his podcast. He's a big name. So he's going to be on. I'm going to send him another text. Also, I have another guy who's well known from a degenerate industry. I'll just say that. He's going to be on too, but he's also anti that industry. Everybody knows who he is. You guys are all going to know who he is. He's
Ron Jeremy.
No, not that bad. But he was in a very degenerate industry, but everybody knows who the hell this guy is. But he has since turned his back on the industry, is now fighting that industry, which I think is a good cause. And I do want to bring that to light. He's a star. You want to say in his own right to some degree, he's a star, ex-star. So people like this, I've met a lot of people, bro. Like but the person that I'm talking about is from the wrestling world. He's black and has alopecia. I'm just going to give you that. Vic, you're going to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay, so believe it or not, me and him had an endorsement contract together, of all things. And the person lives in California who I just re-signed the contract with. He'll be on the show, but he takes forever to freaking respond. I don't know if he's just so busy with family and stuff, but that's just how these guys are sometimes. I'm going to see if he can come on as well too. I'm still working on that as well too. So all of this is working in the background as I'm setting up, getting more people on the podcast, so that way people can see this. Yeah. So that's about it right there. As we wait, I don't know if he's going to be on, to be honest with you, just to be forthcoming with you, because he hasn't even seen the text. No amount of bringing this up is probably going to change that from him seeing that, but hopefully he's okay. I'll just say that. But
yeah, I hope he's okay too. I hope everything's all good.
Yeah, hopefully he's okay, because I mean, things happen all the time. Aaliyah took a plane flight, stuff happens, it's like, we don't want, anybody else to be harmed or hurt in their daily lives and not have a no-show because some safety issue or something happened, some family emergency. I don't know. So
yeah, let's hope let's hope him and his family are okay and they're safe, What was I going to say? Yeah. According to the other person you're talking about, not the black person, but the other one. Yeah, it's curious. Like, I know him, he has an impressive like physique and stuff. So, so do you guys, huh? Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yep.
And so, did you guys ever, you just know of him because you guys are just contracted to the same, sponsor, or
it's weird because in the sponsor that we have is Christian, believe it or not. This is before I got baptized and converted over and all this other stuff. I was like I was leaning into Christ during that time, But it was like, in order for me to work with them, I definitely had to turn away my degenerate ways at the time, and definitely had to leave that away. But I was already a pro at the time, and my past is not a good past, of course. But it's like I had a little bit of a wanting to have a redemption arc, but I didn't know I was going to turn pro. If I knew I was going to turn pro, I would have never did any of that BS. But getting into that, it's like, after some time happened, we'll call it a grace period. I had probably 7 sponsors. I was probably one of the most sponsored athletes in the nation during that time because I was a genetic phenom. And having all these sponsors, it's like I started rolling into nationals, turned pro at nationals. And next thing you know, there's this whole field open of now international competitors that now I have a target on my back. Now I'm getting more sponsors, but in the fight for sponsors, you're literally having to kind of sell yourself to some degree. But one thing that they look for is they research your past, they research your history and all this stuff. And I'm just like, damn, man, this is bad. But MHP signed me to a contract from New York. I got signed with a guy named Kai Grain, who's a very popular, famous bodybuilder during the time. He had almost won the Olympia next to Phil Heath. But I got signed under a contract with him and went to New York to sign this contract. And then, not to mention this, but I got signed to that same sponsor out in California. But she asked me a question. She was like, has your past changed? Are you still involved in? And I was like, damn it. These people do their researches. They do research, and they want to make sure that if you're going to represent their company, they don't want to have a blemish, man. So I don't know what I told her, but it must have been good and sincere enough to say, moving forward, I've renounced all that stuff in my past. And I got signed. Next thing you know, I'm finding out Bobby, never mind. I'm finding out that there's the guy signed to the contract, and then there's a big guy signed to the contract with that person. And there's other people like UFC fighters signed to this person too. And I'm just like, okay, we're all signed to this business. So I guess we're all a big family now. I was signed with all these people. So the person with alopecia, what federation were they with? Because I'm not too keen on wrestling.
Well, he made a name for himself in WWE. So that's where he got big. And then after that, he took time off to do MMA, and then he went to TNA Wrestling, and then he went back to WWE, and now he's in AEW. So he's been in those big promotions. Yeah, he's been pretty big. Like I said, he made a name for himself first in WWE, so that's where he made a big name. As far as I know, I don't think he made a name for himself in the independents. I think he was just discovered by WWE. They trained him, and then he became a wrestler there. So Batista, no, it's not Batista, Davo. It's a black guy. So it's not Batista, but similar to Batista. Plus, also Batista's never been in TNA Wrestling or AEW. So
yeah, I got a message from the guy that works with Snoop Dogg. He said he could do a show on Friday, and I'm like, no, I'm talking about right now. These people are so freaking busy. But anyways, that's a bust. Yeah. But yeah, that person, I didn't know they were involved in all that stuff.
Yeah. But he's had a big career. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that they were, because I don't know how big he is. Truly, you know way more than I do about the guy with alopecia. I didn't I hate to call him that. I wish I could call his name but I don't want to yeah. So I didn't know that, but it's I'm working with people and I don't know their status or how big, it's but I've had conversations with these people. They know who I am, but it's weird because I'm I don't know who you are. But then when I tell people like this, they were like, I don't know who they are, but they know who I am. It's weird for people to hear that. Yeah, like certain people that I can tell you about right now, they'd be like, yeah, I already know that guy. Like the guy's stunt double that knows me. I'm going to speak in this way. I know it's very ambiguous to your audience, but there's a purpose. No worries.
Yeah.
So the guy who plays the stunt double to you would call him an A-list actor or not? He's definitely not a B-list actor, right?
No, definitely. I would consider A-list. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he was in classic movies. He plays a stunt double. I'm going to see if that actor can come on as well too. That guy knows who I am, and I don't know who. And I've seen his movies, and he's never met me ever. But he knows who I am. That's weird. I've seen his movies. And the guy knows, like, it's just, it blows my mind. But we're going to see if we can get him on too. So stunt double looks just like him too. I shit you not. So yeah, that's going to be very interesting too.
Yeah. Yeah. This is like on a side note. I want to ask you, Martae, because you seem to have kind of like a big, pretty, big career bodybuilding and such. What made you want to go into like the debate, like the internet debate sphere and stuff?
Oh, this is going to be like Martae, the celebrity guest.
Martae is the impromptu celebrity guest today, guys.
Oh my God. Okay, I guess I don't even know if I could call. I have like like a box of magazines with photos of me in them and advertisements for bodybuilding and like supplement advertised. Like there's a whole box here that I have. I don't know if you can call me a celebrity. I mean, I am a pro in 2 different world classes. Maybe, I don't know. But I feel like it's too egoic for me to say that. What got me started was I started doing interviews. I got interviewed by RX Muscle, by different independent news outlets, things like that. When I turned pro, came here, there's like 4 or 5 gyms with big ass posters of me, all this other stuff. So I became like a local name as well too. Just coming here and then competing in Europe, doing all that, doing all these interviews. I found out that I didn't like, I was very inquisitive. So when people ask me questions, well, no, I don't think that's true. Well, why do you think that's true? Questions can kind of seem like an attack. So when I was asked during these interviews, the same questions again, like how many meals do you eat a day and all this, it became very boring. Yeah. So then I started learning in these interviews to kind of change the questions and reframe them to where it's like, do you think it's difficult to diet and get like to 4% body fat and still maintain a relationship? Because isn't that a form of male PMS? Things like that. When I started talking about this, it's like, okay, that's no longer talking about bodybuilding, but also there's overlap because we need to function in society and have relationships. That was very intriguing because there was a host that pushed back against that. And I said, no, we started kind of having a mini debate. And I didn't know I was like crushing people before I had these debates anyways. But that happened and it ended up blowing up and it got clipped a few times. And then another podcast had reached out to me and said, hey, I was wondering if you could have you on on this podcast and then talk to you about relationships. And I said, you sure you don't want to talk to me about sports? Because everybody else wants to talk to me about the industry, my stats, all this other shit. And, we just got this conversation. No. They were like, we want to know the man behind the muscle and all this other stuff. We want to know your viewpoint on everything. And it ended up being like, I was spouting common sense shit, but the common sense stuff was controversial, weird enough. And then next thing I was on a different podcast debating over relationship dynamics and all this stuff. And it was like during the beginning of Red Pill stuff. Yeah. It just happened to coincide with this. And that's how all that got started. And during that time, I was like training some celebrities out in Vegas, traveling, doing all this, and also getting ready to compete in another show. Maybe it was like the Europa. Like this year or next year, I plan on doing the New York Pro. Like even now, I plan on getting back into this. But that's what I was making the rounds, just doing that. And that's how I kind of got into debate. Was I started appearing on shows that were non-sports related, but people knew me from sports. But I just started getting passed around to different podcasts, and they were just like, this guy, he just creates drama. And I'm like, because I'm spouting common sense things, this is crazy. Yeah.
Oh, wow. All right. So then it just spiraled from there, and then it just led to you kind of just be like, hey, man, I like doing this. And so like you just started going around doing debates and stuff. That's pretty cool.
Well, it wasn't just the fact that I like doing this, but I like talking about ideas and concepts. People can get very boring because I became like some object, like a piece of meat, if you will. Like people were just like, oh, look at this freak or whatever. And when you become this material object in front of people, they assume you don't have a brain. You don't have a mind. Yeah. Right? He must be the stereotypical box of rocks. When I start talking about things and my ideals about how relationships should run, monogamy is superior to polygamy and all this other stuff, and just having these ideals, because more women is more problems. I don't care who you are. And me talking about this, it's crazy because even the idea that a man can't lead and follow at the same time, that's a very difficult thing and almost impossible. You either have to lead or follow in a relationship. Like when I started talking about the relationship dynamics, people were just like, damn, this bodybuilder, what is he talking about relationships or politics for? Shut your mouth. But usually libtards would tell me that. It's like, And these were conversations I loved having, because talking about sports and how many meals I eat, how many calories, and how much I can bench press, all that shit got boring because fans interrupted me all the time and were asking me these questions all the time. And mind you, like, even I think this was before the podcast started, I was talking about how I was treated in Europe as opposed to how I was treated in the United States. Two stark differences. Crazy.
Yeah. You're telling me how you're treated over there, like pretty much like you're like a mini celebrity over there, and it's pretty crazy. So yeah, I was just curious because, like I said, it seems like you had a full like career, like a full outside, I don't know to call it success story, but you had a full, you had a full thing. So to see you and you're on like these different type of debate channels doing debates, I was just kind of fascinated. It's like, oh well, what made Martae kind of start to go into this to this sphere and stuff? So that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I think during that time I was getting a lot of attention, not just because of sports, but I think I was very intrigued because it wasn't about the same boring things. It wasn't about what I ate and what I did and what's the next place I'm competing at, or if I'm on the road competing and doing something else, and who I've defeated in the past. And it wasn't about any of the stuff, because it just becomes boring to some degree, and you're pretty soon standing in your house looking at the world outside your window, so to speak. When it comes to this, it's like now there's such a broad world out there, and I can understand why I can go to a house and be bored at looking at a football game and be more interested in the snacks and stuff, because I've been so, ingrained in sports for a very long time. We're talking about ever since I started becoming an athlete. I silver medaled at the Grand Canyon State Games for wrestling, ran track at JUCO, red shirted at Phoenix College for wrestling when they had a team. So it's like, and I did all this shit. And I knew I was going to do something because I'm not the tallest guy in the world. I'm like 5'5". It's like, what am I going to do? I'm a short king. I can't play basketball. I can't play NFL, but I'm running track in college for Coach Dave Barney at the time, who ran for Arkansas University. And he's telling me, he was like, you have such a stubborn mindset when it comes to sports. I literally have to force you to stop, because if I tell you to run through a wall, you believe you could probably actually do this. Yeah. And I just have this mindset about everything. So when it comes to debates, I can kind of seem prideful to some degree to some people, but I think that's because I have a competitive nature that stems from all that, which it may be perceived as prideful sometimes. So just to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, no, I could see that in you, that you're very competitive. You have this natural, just competitiveness to you when it comes to everything, even some things like debates, So yeah, I definitely see that. Is your goal to be like a big like debater? Or is this something you see to do on the side, and what you actually want to do is just, do you want to become known for as the bodybuilding or the debate, or like what do you want to be known like for? Like what's your like goal with your I guess career?
I don't put like a label or a destination on this. I just know that I love what I do. When I started out doing bodybuilding, I didn't really have a plan or a goal, to be honest with you. And that's okay not to have like a destination. Yeah. It's good to have a goal. You can have a goal without a destination, meaning like I want to qualify for the Olympia, but I don't know where I'm going to place. But hopefully I wish everybody else good luck. And that was the same mindset I had to debates, is like, if I'm going to compete in the show, I wish them all good luck, So we have to think about things as like, our time is very important to us. Our time is not only just important to us, but we have to also understand that there's robberies that happen in broad daylight all the freaking time. And the robberies that I'm talking about is if a competitor's taking a 19-hour flight from Uzbekistan, or there's a guy I'm going to compete again that's taking whatever flight from Russia to here, I'm spending a lot of money on food, which is $1,500 a month. There's a lot of money on training because the gym membership, there's a lot of supplementation, maybe a lot of the extra subs I have to take on the side. Also, I have a coach too. I have all these other expenses in training, and I can't show up to birthdays. I will never show up at a bar mitzvah, but you get the whole point. I'm missing all this because I'm on a diet, suffering, and training. I'll never get that time back. But the guy taking this 8-hour flight from Russia to get here is coming to whoop my ass. So if I get beat by him, I just got robbed in front of a whole audience of 3,000 people in broad daylight, in front of 7 people who are judges for time I'll never get back. So when you view things like this and you're in the competitive arena competing against the elite, these are people that are traveling. Maybe like this is the only way that they feed their family because they're a pro athlete in their country. They don't want to lose. And then I have the USA on my back, the flag on my back. That's even more incentive for them to take us out because we're not viewed highly upon. Like, I think we're the only nation that I think Russia can compete against, like on a pro level, and which is crazy because I'm backstage and there's people that have interpreters back then. I don't know what they're saying, but I know those guys are from Russia or Ukraine or whatever. And I'm competing against these people, and all they know is like that's the USA guy. Like there's a guy from England that called me a Yankee, whatever the hell that means. And I'm just like, damn, everybody's gunning for us to take our heads off. So there's a little bit of politics in play here because I'm representing the United States. So I always think about it like this because it's extra insulting to me when people from Boy attack me all the time or do things like this. It's like they don't know who they're attacking but I have to represent them to other nations. Like if I'm backstage and there's only 3 of us from the United States representing the United States, like we have to wear our country on our back. And then they go home and telling them how they whooped American ass coming back. Like I don't want people doing that and robberies in broad daylight and all this. So I have like a little bit of burden. I think that's good to have, man, to shoulder the burden of all this responsibility and hold this accountability of me have to perform on game day. I think that's good, man. I like that. But I try to bring that mindset into debate too. So
I think that's a good point too, because in America right now there's such a divide, like, oh, white people, black people, this and that. But when you say that, like, oh, people from like England or whatever call you a Yankee, it just goes to show that they don't see you as, oh, this black guy. They see you as like this American that they're here to compete against. And I think that's what a lot of people in our country who are so divided by race don't really understand.
Yeah, it's really weird because, I mean, during the time when I went out there, it was like I was competing at the Grand Prix out there in Europe. And I think when I was competing, the disparaging comments I heard from people in London, but mind you, they had a big knifing epidemic during the time. And it was post-show. I was eating some fish and chips and some vinegar, whatever the hell they were eating out there. And it was like, I'm just hearing comments about how, the Yanks are kind of screwing up and they're following this, this crazy leader named Trump during the time. And I'm just hearing this there and saying, this is bad. And I'm just like, you guys can't even have guns, but you guys have a knifing epidemic. They take the knives away. You guys are going to have a rock epidemic. And next thing you know, this is going to become Afghanistan. And we had this conversation. I was just like, damn, I can't even be out here talking like this because I have such a big mouth. So it's very funny because I saw murals painted of Trump in London where it's like graffiti art disparaging images of our president. And I'm just like, this is bad. So we're not viewed highly in other nations. That's what I knew when I was traveling internationally and competing. That was fairly odd too, just seeing that.
Yeah, I bet that's what his name was Mike, right? The Deadliest Catch. Mark, sorry about that. Sorry. Yeah, Mark. Yeah, Mark Selbach. Yeah. That's what he was saying too, that we're not favored highly. We're not really looked at highly in other nations and stuff. And when you went to take a break, I asked him, I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, do you mean our government? Do you mean us as a culture or people? And he was like, kind of like both, it's like I guess other people from other countries just view us as kind of arrogant and kind of, just arrogance, like we think we're better than everybody. Yeah.
There was a lot of entitlement. When I talked to a lot of the Brits out there, that's what I got. Not only was it entitlement, but we were ignorant sheep that were following something into our own death somehow. And it's just like, this is bad, but you guys have a massive knifing epidemic here that's not even bad. Like I was literally told before I went out of the hotel to tuck my watch, which was really weird. And I'm just like, okay, I guess it's really bad out here, but you guys are going to complain about the United States. I feel so much more safer out here in the United States compared out here with you guys. That was one thing that I got. And I was just like, this is very, very funny that you guys are going to make disparaging comments, but you guys are less safe out here than we are in the States. So.
Yeah, no, for real. I was watching a wrestling video today and it was a story from Chris Jericho's book about how, they were wrestling in Brazil. The WWE had a show in Brazil. And it was Chris Jericho versus CM Punk. And CM Punk held a Brazil flag, and he was holding it up because he was the good guy during the match. Chris Jericho being the bad guy during the match, he took the flag and he threw it down on the ring floor and he kicked it. And right before the match, like they're about to get into it, people from backstage ran out and said, Chris, you got to fucking apologize right now or they're going to fucking arrest you because he kicked the Brazilian flag. And so they had to stop the match and he had to get on the microphone and apologize for doing that to their flag, or else they were going to arrest him right then and there. Like there were soldiers literally backstage waiting to go out there. And so,
That's
but
insane.
I guess, yeah, it was insane. I was like, holy cow, just from trying to be a bad guy and like, yeah, fuck your flag, but he almost got arrested. And I guess even after that, WWE has never been allowed to wrestle in Brazil since, even after he apologized. And it's
That's
like, yeah.
insane. Hey, Vic, I don't know if I'm just buying time here a little bit. I feel like you've got to buy some time. I do want to play the news coverage of the KEWL thing because people are probably confused and didn't know what you were talking about. I could play it in its entirety. I don't know if you want to play it in its entirety, but it's weird.
Fine.
Weird Martae lore, by the way. So.
Yeah, Martae. No, it was weird Martae lore. When I saw it, I was like, holy cow, this is a whole new lore right here. But yeah, no, you could play the whole thing. I have no problem with that.
Literally, holy cow, I guess. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Mystery. A Valley man says he hit the animal right on a city street, but he has no idea where the cow came from. ABC 15's Jason Valentine talked to that man tonight, and he feels like some rancher owes him a new car.
This is what a one-ton animal does to a car. Still little bits of fur stuck in the shattered windshield. Martae Ruelas says he hit the animal coming home from Walmart. Now he wants to know, where on earth did it come from?
It's hard to believe that a 2,000-pound hamburger just flew through my windshield like that. It's crazy.
Flying cows surprised the folks in Twister, too.
Cow.
But that was Hollywood movie magic. Martae Ruelas was on 7th Street in North Phoenix when it happened to him.
I see this big blur that comes right in front of my car and smash right there. All I see is airbag and glass splash me in the face.
The airbag blew up, burns and cuts on his arms. The cow got it worse. Its fur still stuck to Martae's car. But now comes the mystery.
There's a physical bull on the side of the road, horns and everything. We live in a city. That's a bull. I'm still trying to process this.
Bull, cow, whatever you call it. Where the heck did it come from? Deer Valley Airport to the south, a cement plant to the north. There is desert to the east, but it's fenced and the animal is branded, so somebody owns it. And Martae says that person owes him a car.
It's almost like as if a dog breaks loose from an owner and attacks somebody. It's like, is the owner really responsible for that? In most cases, yeah.
Phoenix police told us they passed the cow off to the Department of Agriculture to try to find the owner. Police also told us dirt bikers and four-wheelers sometimes leave gates open on grazing land. Either way,
I'm out of a car right now, and it sucks.
And that ain't no bull. I'm Jason Valentine, ABC 15 Arizona.
Yeah, I was like, this is bull.
Yeah, this is bullshit. Yeah.
Literal bullshit that just happened that day.
It's funny because last night, Bandit was on it, and Bandit was like, oh, well, it looks like you drove a Prius. And you're like, no, it's not a Prius. But watching it back again, I could see why people think it's a Prius. Even someone in my comment section, Kyle, he was like, Martae driving a Prius? But no, it's not a Prius. It was a Honda. So let's just get that rumor out of there. Martae.
Honda. Know it was a Honda. I'm telling you right now. I went over the steering wheel. It was a Honda logo just to show you guys last night. So yeah, definitely a Honda, bro. Whew, dodged the bullet, the Prius bullet. So not a liberal.
Yeah,
not
I know, right? Imagine if it was a Prius, that would have been the bigger scandal here. Like Martae drove a Prius. That would have been the new scandal over there,
That would have been the worst scandal if Martae drove a Prius full load card. Yeah, that would have been crazy, man. But dodged a bullet that one. It was just a Honda, thank goodness. So it's
yeah, dodged a bullet, but did not dodge a bull, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I was saying, like you were asking me, like how did the news cover this whole footage? And pretty much, like I'm pretty well known in Arizona. Not to dox my state, but it's a pretty large state. You'd have to find out where in Arizona. But like if we think about this, it's like there were like a couple people who pulled over because the accident was so bad. There was a bull on the side of the road, massive bull, and this is what happened. I'm driving, and alongside the road, there's like no lights. And I was driving home from Walmart because I've gotten like a bunch of steaks, beef, chicken, bodybuilder shit. And I'm like, I have to make a food run. Driving back home, and the weirdest thing happened. It happened in just a few seconds. I saw horns, I saw eyes, and then everything turned black. Upon recollection, I knew that the bull was charging me, which is really weird. So we just went on like this.
That's crazy. Charging you? I thought it was just walking across the road and you hit it, but it was charging you?
Charging me. It went through the windshield. If you saw the windshield caved in,
yeah,
it went through the windshield. Like it. So yeah. So I don't know how none of the horns hit me in the chest or whatever, but it kind of did this. It's weird. I did see the horns, but my head hit the steering wheel. Well, no, I think it was the bag or whatever it was. But I don't know how this happened, but I wasn't like really badly injured during this whole period of time. But when I had come to and kind of woken up, there was the bull, and then I smelled a lot of smoke, and like I had this chalk on me, probably from like the exploding airbag. And there was like two cars and somebody trying to pry a door open. And next thing you know, like one of the first things I heard, it sounded like I was in a tunnel. And then when the voices started becoming more clear, the first thing I hear is, I think that's Martae. Somebody says, I think that's Martae. It really is Martae. I don't know who this person is. It's like, I don't know who this person is. But mind you, like I have 5 gyms in Arizona where I have a big ass poster of me. So all I'm hearing about is, oh my God, that is him. Get your phone. And it's like the last thing you want to hear when you're pulling yourself out of a vehicle of a wreck. And I'm just like, hey, what's going on? My car's gone. Like, so I don't know. It was a pretty bad day for me. Pretty shitty day, bro.
Damn, man. Yeah. The biggest thing that sucks is that, man, the insurance didn't even cover it, man. So fucking, you never got your car reparations. That's what sucks.
No, I didn't get that. One of your commenters says the irony of buying beef and then slamming into a bull.
Yeah, I know, right? I was thinking that too. The irony of going to buy a bunch of meat and then you hit a bull.
It's probably what somebody could probably say it's karma because maybe he had to get his get back or whatever you want to call it. Like,
I know, right?
It's so bad.
I know what you have in that car. I'm going to go right toward your car. That's insane, man. A bull to go head on into your car. That's crazy.
It was galloping. Like it was galloping. And I know it was like, so I was like, I didn't even have time to brace myself. It was dark. So yeah, I just saw a galloping bull hit me head on. And I guess nobody won that battle. I saved my life somehow. I don't know. Just bad, man. Just a bad day. They didn't even let me. And I asked them, I was like, well, there's no compensation because my insurance is saying that this is a true act of God situation. The animals don't follow guidelines or bylaws or any of that traffic stuff. So it's like they call that a true accident because it's just nature. So there's nobody that you can get the insurance from or exchange information. It's a fucking bull. So, and then I asked, I was like, well, if that bull's just going to sit there and you're going to let the meat go bad, I can butcher this, right? And the guy's like, no, you can't butcher it because as you can see right here, if you walk with me, there's a brand, so it belongs to somebody. I'm like, oh, so I can't eat it. This bull can jack up my whole car and screw my whole life up, but I can't eat this cow. And the guy's like, nah, man, because it's property. I'm just like, oh, so my life got even worse that day because I couldn't even eat steaks because it's just bad, man.
Yeah,
I wish that was the case though.
Yeah, you couldn't even cook it up, but it sucks though. Like if they see the brand right there, it's crazy that they couldn't even trace it back to who owned the bull in order to, that's what sucks too.
The guy, his name was Aldo Vasquez. He was like one of the reporters from Channel 5. He was like, is there any way that we can find out? Because he used the same logic. He was like, well, there's a brand, so it belongs to somebody. Somebody owns this. They called Wildlife Fish and Game. They called some of the property owners, and everybody denied having this bull. So I was like, yeah, you guys would deny this, even if it was your bull, maybe because like, I'm just like, what? But yeah. But yeah, I've had a pretty good career in pro sports. We did Super League, and that was pretty awesome. It was a new sport that Nike had came out with, and coming out with the sport, they had selected people who were world record holders, and also people who are power lifters and all this. And I've done powerlifting for a long time and done world strongman. And I got a call from Vegas, and it was a guy named Jay Jung. He owned like this guy's probably a millionaire, owns a couple gyms out there. And he said, hey, I'd like to see if you can try to qualify for our team. And I was like, qualify for your team? He was like, you're an athlete, right? You've done wrestling and everything else. I've done a lot of research on you. And I was like, yeah, I've done some things. And he was like, according to what we show, you've also done strongman. I said, yeah, I've done that. And he was like, how would you like to test your mettle against the best in the world? That's all I needed to hear. And I was sold. And I was like, okay, who and where? He was like, well, you have to qualify for Team USA. And he was like, Nike's also sponsoring the whole thing too. It's also being sponsored by, well, there was a bunch of other people who were sponsoring this too. And he was like, all you got to do is come down to Vegas and qualify. Went down to Vegas, and I destroyed the deadlift world record holder at the time. So that happened. And then we went against Team Canada, destroyed the shit out of them. But they had this international meeting before we all started. It was like weigh-ins. There was a bodybuilding legend, Dorian Yates, that was there. Titan from American Gladiators was there. His name is Mike O'Hearn, by the way, if you guys know who that is. There's like memes about him. The guy who has the "Don't Hurt Me" meme and all that. He was there. A bunch of other superstars and legends. Matter of fact, Dwayne Johnson was there too. A bunch of other people were there. And while we were there, I'm like sitting in a room with probably like damn near, if you can like compare people to superhumans, literally this is what they were. So they called it the Rise of the Superhumans, the first competition we had. And I was literally competing against people that are trying to self-delete themselves to destroy me. Like they have the same mindset. And I think as an athlete, you have to have that mindset to where it's like, I'm going to kill myself in the process of trying to delete you. And I've never been in a room with so many people with that same mindset. It's almost like there's this buzz. Like I'm there, Titan's there, Dwayne Johnson's there, and all these other people. And I'm just like, oh, I just want to run through walls. I want to just run through the opposition and destroy anything. They also had that mindset, but it's like everybody was seeing red, but it was the calmest seeing red moment at the athletes meeting. So these meetings are very serious. If you wear like a Adidas socks or whatever else at the event, you get fined $2,000. You have to wear all Nike. So you have to wear all Nike. There's like a fine for being late, $1,000 fine for being late. That's also in the IPB for bodybuilding. If you're late, you get fined a lot of money too for that too. So a lot of people don't realize that in the league, they'll charge you a lot for frivolous fines and petty stuff. But yeah, I ended up having a pretty good showing. I beat another world record holder that day. That was pretty good. I have some of the footage. I actually showed it to you in one of the clips I played. Where it was like me and Mike O'Hearn in one of the pieces of footage I had. There's also me and Rusty training and a lot of other highlight footage and reels that I have too. But yeah, that was a pretty good experience, man. I enjoyed that.
I bet, and that's how I know that the bodybuilding industry hasn't gone woke or anything, because eventually that whole fining $1,000 for being late would have been put to rest, because someone would have said, well, that's racist. That's racist,
They would have said that. Well, that's the thing, though. Is like, I mean, we have colored people time, so it's like even with Emmett's whole controversy on like saying, "Well, no, it's 27 minutes. It's not 47 minutes." I'm like, well, I'm functioning off of colored people time. That's what we're working on. It's accurate by the raccoon standard. I'm just telling you right now, us coons consider that colored people time. So it's like, yeah, it was a pretty good guess last night. So. That was good stuff, man.
That was good stuff too. I liked that. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the back and forth between you and Emmett.
He's a good sport.
Yeah, no, he is. It was entertaining stuff. I was joking around. I was like, oh, I'm going to start my own news network. It's going to be MSV1C instead of MSNBC. It's going to be MSV1C, and that's going to be my news network.
Yeah, that's what they Emmett. What's his name with Don Lemon's name?
Yeah, with Emmett Lemon. Yeah, oh man, he was so pissed. He was like, "Hell no!" Yeah,
Emerson Cooper.
Yeah, Emerson Cooper. What's funny is he was accepting of that. He's like, you know what? That's not so bad as long as it's not Don Lemon.
He owned it too. I was like, oh, he's also gay. It's like, okay,
yeah, they're both gay.
Training one gay for the next gay. Okay,
yeah, I know. That's what I thought was funny too. That he was fine with that. He's like, oh, and it's like, oh, all right. I mean, they're both gay, but okay, whatever. Emerson Cooper.
So yeah. I will say that there's going to be a news network war. I posted in the Discord that there's going to be a war. These vampires have been sucking the truth out of media for a long time. And the Trash Panda Network is here to reconcile all this and dig the truth from the trashes of the dumpsters so that we all can be revealed. So, yeah, that's why I wanted to come out with this, because I know there has to be a competing news network. He just can't run the block and, own a monopoly on news networks. So that's why we came to prominence.
Yeah, no, competition is always better, You need someone out there to, push you, and then you push him, and it just, everyone benefits. So I am down. I am down for the Palestine News Wars. I am here for it, brother. I can't wait to see it. Is there any stories that you've heard that you're working on or that you're going to talk about soon?
We are going to do a segment on the worst superpowers to have during a debate and the best superpowers to have during a debate. That's going to be a special funny segment. We're also going to have the origin of the Palestine News Network and the Trash Panda News Network beef, how it all started. So I'm also going to talk about the origin story on that. We're also going to cover other things as far as debate news, media, and also this war popping off in Iran. But we're going to cover this from the coon perspective. It's not going to be from the raccoon perspective. I mean, that's what I mean. It's all the same thing.
The raccoon. Yeah, that's it. I thought that was funny too, the Trash Panda, because at first I was like, why the Trash Panda? And then when you're saying coons, like, oh, I get it. I was like, that's good stuff right there, Martae. That's clever.
Yeah, we're gonna have some well-spoken black people on the channel. That's what's gonna happen. So it's definitely gonna be a thing that's gonna be happening. But getting back to this, I think I would encourage anybody that plans on working out or training, make it a lifestyle. I think it's extremely important. I made it my lifestyle. I think that not only has fitness and health been the mainstay of my lifestyle, but I think it'll benefit you, because sooner or later you're going to grow old, man. And then somebody's going to have to wipe your ass and you're going to fall and break a hip and all this, but that can all be prevented. If you get fat as hell, you're going to have to put like a towel on the end of a stick and then wipe your ass somehow. You don't want to be in that position. Not only this, but you want to make sure that, you're able to take care of other people too, because when you get older and you fall on your hip and you break your hip, that's because of a loss of bone density, because of a lack of training. Weight training increases bone density, and that can help out health. So these are also things that I also promote too. I don't talk about it too much because, like I said, before I got into debates, we were talking about everything in just pounding bodybuilding into the mud so much to where it was like, I live, eat, and breathe this to some point, and I never had a break, because once you're doing bodybuilding, you can't leave it, because you're eating 7 meals a day. It's at home. And then when you go, you're bringing Tupperware everywhere else with you. So it's like you'll never escape bodybuilding. So on podcasts, when I started getting into like these debates, it was like a breath of fresh air, because my mind isn't solely fixed on my next meal or the training I have to do and everything else. I do love to suffer, but I needed a break from this, because I was kind of almost approaching some kind of burnout. But so I do want to discuss, like, me and Andrew Wilson, us meeting. What happened though is I was on a podcast and I started getting into researching some of the red pill content. I feel like they had a point, but it wasn't grounded. It wasn't sticking to some point, because I was like, yeah, but I want to be in a monogamous relationship. I know having like more than one woman isn't good. Even though it's like, short time stuff and all this, you're still going to end up with a cold bed at night. That's not the future that I want. There has to be something more substantial. And to be honest with you, you almost missed Muslim Martae. That was almost the thing that was going to happen. And I can explain why. The reason why I was leaning towards Islam is because I noticed that if I wore a Jesus is Sissy Lala shirt in Walmart, I would have made it through the whole week. Might have got some ugly looks, glances, and things like this. But if I wore a Allah is gay shirt, I probably wouldn't have made it 2 days. Right? I probably would have got stoned, stabbed, or something would have happened, because the Muslim community out here is pretty big too. So think about it. So I've lived in a disciplined state for the most of my life when it came to planning meals, learning how to control the passions of self when it came to dieting, discipline, staying away from temptation, desserts, all this stuff. Like, I've truly mastered that when it came to all this. My impulse control was like S tier, all that. But I didn't see a reflection of this in society. And I looked at Western Christianity. Western Christianity was falling. Not only was it falling, but we had lesbian pastors. The rainbow flag was being erected. And I was like, why would I be associated with Christianity during the time? I didn't know what Orthodox Christianity was, mind you. But I did know that I didn't know a lot about Islam, but I did know that they were disciplined as hell. They were so disciplined that if you insulted their religion, they would do something about it. Like, I'm like, damn it. Well, at least there's something that's consistent there, because there's rainbow flags at this one. There at this Christian church, there isn't one at this one. And I was like, okay, I think Islam is where I'm leading to, because judge me if you want, but this is just my ignorance at the time. I was like, well, Andrew Tate seems disciplined and he's leaning into Islam too. What's wrong with this? What could go wrong? But I was on a podcast and I started looking into doing more podcast appearances and stuff like that. And I started watching the Whatever podcast, and I saw a man on there, and I was like, this guy's making a lot of sense. Who the hell is this? He looks like the average person. Like, he doesn't look special or anything different from anybody else. And it was Andrew Wilson. And I was like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, they're just bringing up random people, because I didn't know who he was at the time. And I was listening to a podcast, and he started making a lot of fucking sense. And then I listened more and more. And next thing you know, I caught the next episode. And I was like, whoever this Andrew Wilson guy is, he's really interesting and has a lot of stuff to say. Then he brought up orthodoxy. And he said, well, if you ever get a chance to check out a parish. And I was like, so I started going online and looking this up. And I was like, oh, they're really disciplined. Discipline is really attractive to me. So I started leaning into that, because I can't be a elite athlete, in the elite, and then function with some lackadaisical belief system. Those two are like, oil and water. They won't mix. So I started researching all this.
Martae, your audio went out.
Yeah, I reached out to them, and next thing you know, Rachel Wilson started talking to Andrew, and Rachel Wilson is very familiar with pro bodybuilding and all this stuff. And next thing you know, I became Andrew Wilson's trainer, and I was coaching him for a bit. So that ended up being pretty good. But mind you, before that, I was coaching a lot of other celebrities, and I was training a lot of other people before that. So it wasn't anything like different from training anybody else, coaching Andrew Wilson, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's very awesome. Man, I had a question for you. Let's see, let's rewind a little bit, because so you talked about how you met Andrew. Actually, I had a comment. I was like, man, somewhere in some other parallel universe, there's Muslim Martae who's teaming up with Manar versus like Andrew and someone else. Imagine that. That would be crazy.
There would have been another universe where I would have been debating Andrew representing the Muslim side. That's crazy.
Yeah, so it's a good thing. People in my chat are saying, yeah, thank God he's on our side and stuff like that. And I got to say that too, thank God you're on our side, because a Muslim Martae would not have been good. Not have been good.
Yeah, I was like this close to going towards Islam, because I wanted something that was more disciplined, firm, and consistent when it came to like the ideology. But upon further like reference, like hindsight is always going to be 2020 regardless. But looking back, I was like, damn, would have been an idiot move on my part. That's just my opinion. If I offend you, we can debate about this next week, and I could set it up by anybody in the audience. But that's the thing though, is like, I'm glad that I'm on this side, and I'm glad that I chose to lean towards Christ and Christian values. And I've been in catechesis for like 2 years before I even got baptized. So it's a while. So when people do the whole conflation with me and Nala Ray, it's not the same thing, because Nala Ray goes and she gets dunked. There's two things that I have, because there's like a war. right now. There's a potential debate that could happen on Word War Debate with me and Pearl's producer. Maybe not her producer, but he works on her production. There's kind of a beef that's happening between me and him on Twitter, where they're bringing up a lot of personal attacks. I'm not like foreign to personal attacks, but they've conflated and compared me to Nala Ray, and they said, well, Martae is no different from this, right? Well, the problem with this is I don't have a problem with Nala Ray's past if she's changed her ways. That's nothing I can ever judge. What I can judge is the fact that she has renounced her ways, but then became a female minister. That's like something that I have an issue with. The other thing that I have an issue with is with this whole conflation is, yeah, she can go get baptized tomorrow night and then get a coffee in the same shop that's adjacent to the pool that she got baptized in. In accordance with Orthodoxy, I had to go through the whole process of catechesis, like 2 years of studying, research, having to go to classes, having to be disciplined, learn a prayer rule, all this other stuff. And then they decide whether or not it's time for you to get baptized or not. It's much different, the process of this. I love the fact that there's so much discipline in this form of Christianity that you just can't say, I can just turn into that tomorrow, which she turned into a minister, has her own online ministry, comes out, and next thing you know, she's evangelical. Like as if 6 months ago, she didn't have all this in her mouth. And it's like, this is crazy. So there's a massive distinction between me and Nala. Plus, I didn't do intercourse I didn't do that on camera. She did, but I'm not going to dive too much into that. But it's when they do this whole conflation, I just don't I feel like it's such a reach. I think that if somebody has redeemed their ways, even Nala Ray or any of these other people, if they've since redeemed and changed their ways, I can't judge them. I really can't judge them. As long as they're walking that walk towards Christ, we all should be given that walk, no matter what. Everybody should be given a chance, because if they were to tell me, Martae, you can't ever be forgiven because I'm a secularist and you're always doomed because you're past, that means that Christ died for nothing. That means that baptism doesn't work anymore and nobody should be given a redemption. What a nihilistic world that you live in. If we're going by that logic, it's very nihilistic. Crazy.
Yeah. And that's what people confused. They'll be like, why are you talking crap on Nala Ray? I thought you guys were all about redemption and forgiveness and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, yeah, no, we are, but that's not, she's obviously she's switched one grift to another, it seems like. And, like you said, she's like a female minister and stuff like that. It's not that she's, it's not that, oh, she used to do F and therefore, it's that it seems like she just pretty much turned one grift into another. And she's still putting out videos that are still there's no nudity in there. There's no explicit adult content, but there's sexually suggestive innuendo still in there. It doesn't seem like she's fully conformed. And she's definitely not a figure that we should be prompting up and listening to this soon. She got baptized and then a month later she was on Michael Knowles talking about how she was saved, and it's like, okay, that's not how this works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, there's also examples too. Even recently, I can tell you right now, ever since I started getting back into heavy duty training with my coach and doing all this, and then planning on trying to qualify for the Olympia, and then not only this, but having to do the Europa and compete at maybe some Grand Prix, do all this again. I've had two photographers reach out and say, hey, I was wondering if you can do a photo shoot. And I was like, no, I'm good. You don't want to know what the photo shoot's about? It's fitness related stuff. No, I'm good. I'm so adverse to photo shoots now because of the past and because of reputational damage and all this, that I don't even want to do a regular schmegular fitness photo shoot. I don't want to do that at all. I can do progress pictures before and after, but I choose not to do this. People could say, well, damn, you look like a Greek god. 6 months from now, I can look like some statuesque figure, where it's damn, I don't know. That's impressive. Yeah, it's going to have to be impressive underneath my clothes, bro. That's the kind of discipline I have. Whereas Nala Ray took off and she's like, oh, we're just going to insinuate. It's not exactly corn, but we're just going to, flick our tongue on a biscuit or a muffin, whatever it was she did in the last reel. And it's we're just going to insinuate. It's not exactly corn. I'm so averse to anything like that that you have to be viewed as kind of a monastic because you don't do anything even adjacent to that, to where it's like somebody asked me, they said, are you going to debate theology, Martae, at some point in the future? Because you're an Orthodox Christian, you're now baptized, you're learning more about the religion. Would you ever do this? And I would say, no. I put a 10-year hiatus on me. And I said, before I make this decision, this isn't like a decision I made with a priest or anybody else. But I said, should I be the person that wants to debate theology? Let's say I know all my shit. Let's say I know the Bible from front to back. I can interpret it just as much as anybody else. I still have to give myself 10 years before I can even have the conversation with myself about it. The reason why is because there is no statute of limitations on, your public status or a bad image, according to secularists in the world and everything else like this. Mind you, let's say that the world does forgive this. Well, this is now personal. I'm giving myself this 10-year hiatus from doing theology or anything like that. Even having the mere conversation with myself about this in my head and deep diving about how I'm going to go about debating theology 10 years from now, that's just the conversation. So I think that if more people who've had like a degenerate past take the time and don't rush into this and say, I'm just going to rush out and just give the word and do all this, we wouldn't look like such shams. I mean, in the overarching Christian community. But thankfully, Orthodoxy doesn't have a lot of that going on right now, or any of that I can see. We don't have that because there's so much discipline, so much reverence, and there's a lot of gatekeeping that happens, to be honest. I think gatekeeping is extremely important. That should be done because we now have Western Christianity that hasn't done gatekeeping. We now have rainbow flags. We now have ministers. We just had a debate where somebody was arguing that the church should be sued because we have a lesbian pastor in the pulpit. Like, what? This is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Not enough gatekeeping was done at all. And like you said, it's led to all this. Yeah, like you said, female pastors or even lesbian pastors, or like with the LGBTQ flag in there. And it's like, okay, it's no, like, no, this is not what's needed at all. I want to ask, like, because it's fascinating to me, because like you do the bodybuilding, which is obviously a big discipline with your body, and you're working out your body. Would you say that like debating is kind of like a workout for your mind?
It is, because you're going to look back and you're going to say, damn, I messed up so many times. And you're going to start becoming like hyper analytical. So I'll say this. When I did a debate, the last debate, I wanted this to probably be one of my best performances when it came to like eliminating civil rights. I wanted that to become the most. And I wanted to imagine, if I'm on Speakeasy's platform and I'm having this debate, what if I was at some college debating this with some professor about this? I need to come as prepared as possible to where if I can demonstrate this as like a highlight reel to debates, just like sports, and I'm conflating the two. If you can show a highlight reel of something that you are trying to become disciplined at or be better at, would your future self be happy with that? And would that future self say that guy's a pro at what he does? If I looked at any of the debates I did in the past, this is my honest truth, Vic, I would tell you guys that I'm a D-level debater. Not A, not B, not C, a D-level debater. I think that I have so much work to do and so much improvement to do, even though I can say I've done like 88 debates. I've only, with the polls that came out, I've only lost 2. One of them was a narrow loss to Destiny. According to Paige, she says that. She's a litigator, so I'm going to say that maybe that's the closest thing to some official judgment. And Emmett reviewed that. He said that was a narrow loss too. And then I lost to Mo Rebuttal. The only one person, those are the only 2 people I've lost debates to. But if I think about this, it's like, I have to think about this. Am I just highly favored because these are on right-wing channels? Oh, wait, hold on. I did do a debate on Wick and we whooped the asses out of those people. And then I think about this. Oh, I did do a debate against Pisco and they didn't do really well there either. So it's like, yeah, I did this on liberal platforms and everywhere else. Here's the whole point. You want to get better to where your last performance looks nothing like your first. There needs to be a dramatic change. And if you are as competitive as I am, you are going to be OCD and weed out the little things like you saying, like you'll start noticing, you start doing this a lot. I did this in the last debate and I'm just like, damn, that's just maybe a lack of preparation, and I need to prepare better. So it's not bad to be hard on yourself if you want to fine tune yourself to become a better athlete or a better performer or a better tactician at engaging with the left, because this is kind of a sport, to be honest with you. It really is. It gets judged. It gets viewed. You can practice this. You can look at highlight reels and review where you fucked up at or messed up at. And then not to mention that, but it requires a certain level of discipline. It does. But here's one thing I would say to everybody else. The more you start doing debates, the more you start recognizing where you messed up at, and it most likely doesn't happen again. And you slowly start weeding these little things out, like maybe little ticks or, misquoting things, stuttering, all this. If you have a stutter, like, you can help weed all this stuff out later on. The more you start doing this, the better you're going to be. I know I'm saying stuff I'm preaching to the choir here, but I'm just saying, like, if you were comparing this to sports, it's a good thing to be competitive and have a little bit of OCD streak.
Yeah, one thing I say I noticed that you've improved on is, before, I've noticed you try, like, I compared you, you're trying to, like, you're like a Bill Goldberg in a way. Like, Goldberg would have these short matches, like he would go in there, try to get this match done as soon as possible, and then leave. I felt like you kind of slowed down a lot. Like, you're kind of more patient, you're not as interruptive. And that's for the better. I think that's a good thing, because I think before, I think you're going in for, like, the steamrolling. But I think now, I'm just saying, like, you went in there, you went in there like Goldberg, like you went in there, you wanted to do the spear, the jackhammer, bada bing, bada boom. But you slowed down a lot, and I think that's for the better. Like, you've slowed down a lot, you're more patient, and I think it also helps you formulate your arguments better. So I would say that, from what I've viewed of your debates, that's how I've seen that you've improved a lot, is that you kind of slowed down a bit. And
I think pacing is extremely important. I think that when you pace and you start thinking before you say something, the mistakes are decreasing a lot. Not only this, but you're able to formulate a better attack pattern, and you're able to recognize. And here's another thing too, is one thing that was, like, kind of hidden and woven in what you were saying that I caught, like, and this is my interpretation of what you said, is maybe I'm not saying as much. Meaning I'm not interrupting as much. Maybe I'm listening more. That's also another thing too, is because I started noticing that if I listen more to my opponents, you'll start noticing that they handed you a knife. They'll hand you a gun. They hand you a noose. And then your recall gets better because you heard it. And if you're not interrupting it, you can now say, nope, that just contradicted what you said last time. But a lot of people don't realize this, that recall is a lot of just listening, to be honest with you, and catching things that people say. But you'll never get this if you're just quick to just have a response instead of listen. I think approach will always determine a response, but the approach always has to be heard out in full sometimes. Let them talk. Sometimes they'll dig their own grave, and that's a beautiful thing. That's what happened with the last debate. When I said, hold on, so because if I have a bakery and I refuse to cook, make a cake for a lesbian couple, and then at the last second I switched this up, I said, let's go to a church. Do you think lesbians should sue because of their belief system that they're not? And next, the guy was like, yeah, they should sue because of So you think they should adopt their lifestyle and belief system and forego Christian 2,000 years of unchanged church historical tradition, culture, and all this for lesbian ideology? He was like, yeah. I was like, this is crazy. You just destroyed your own worldview. It's like, and it's beautiful. I love it. When this stuff happens, it's almost like you just kind of want to sit back and just be like, well, that was that. But you have to, there's like 20 minutes left on the clock, and you're like, well, this is fun now. But you'll never have these moments of fun unless you let them hang themselves. But a lot of this requires just listening and being patient, man. I'm slowly starting to learn this, man.
Yeah. So I agree with you 100%. Bandit on my channel, thank you very much for the $5, Bandit. He says, I've noticed that I have more brain farts when I spend more time talking than listening, being on stream versus being in chat. So yeah, I think he's just agreeing with your point that yes, sometimes it's better when you're just listening, because yes, you're giving him the knife or you're giving him the rope to hang themselves with, And yeah, you're absolutely right. I remember that from your last debate where, he said, yes, they should be able to sue. And it's like, wait, what? And so, yeah, that whole debate was funny. I was curious, what did you debate Mo rebuttal on?
So I think I actually did pretty well. It was on the red pill, not dooming men or something like that, not being leading to men's destruction. And my whole point was I was saying that red pill, what definitionally, what does that mean to you? Like we have to get into definitions. And I said, red pill is kind of like an awareness, an awakening of the mind of something, like an awareness to a reality that you never saw before. Like I got red pilled into something. And I was like, well, Christianity is very red pilled, isn't it? Because there's a part in the Bible that says it's better to live in a desert than in the house of a quarreling wife. And then there's another scripture that says the roof of a house. So I said, how very red pilled of that. So what we're saying is that I just went that route and I was saying that there's a conflation and I try to use that, but it was like, but you have to understand though, I will say this to Mo's credit. Mo's a very likable guy.
Oh yeah.
Very good guy. And not to mention this, damn you, Mo, you have a traditional family, you have Christian beliefs, and you're really likable. Yeah, those are points against me, bro. It's like, I met my nemesis now. Somebody who has me beaten in, like he's beating me out and all these other things. I'm like, damn, man, I don't have a family like that. I don't have maybe the likable nature of Mo. Damn, but people don't realize though, it's one good thing to have good rhetoric. And it's one good thing to have the Socratic method down pat, but it's another thing to be liked by the audience. And the audience like you because you're a really good guy and you have the ideals that everybody else should emulate. Yeah. Mo, my hat's off to you if you're listening. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Crazy. So, so they took a poll and then how much did you lose by?
I don't know, but I still think I have it somewhere. I should have like a post that says all the scores that I won or lost by. Mind you, all of this is just subjective, but isn't almost everything subjective in sports? Like bodybuilding subjective, it's judged by a panel of 7 judges and they have the main judge. It's like boxing is subjective. So it goes down to a decision sometimes and a judge has to decide. So we have to think about this. Even pro wrestling is subjective according to maybe scripts or whatever that is. All this is just subjective. So just like this debate you have to approach this as a sport. So yeah, there's polls that happen on Easy's channel after the debate. And they say, okay, who gave you the best argument for tonight? Martae or Mo rebuttal? Mo happened to win that night. My hat's off to him. I couldn't have lost to a better person, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, no, I like Mo. He's a good debater. He's a smart guy. I like him. So yeah, I was just curious about that. I was like, well, wait, I didn't know you debated Mo rebuttal, but then I don't think I've watched it, but I do remember that you were going to debate defending the red pill. That you were on the side of the red pill for that debate, right? Yeah.
I was a good I will play devil's advocate for positions that don't blaspheme Christ or go against Christian ethics. I don't think the red pill exactly goes against red pill or Christian ethics at all. I think the red pill, like I was saying, definitionally is an awakening or awareness of reality to some degree. Because when Neo, like I'll even conflate this with the Matrix, they said you can either stay in this delusional realm and be a liberal, or you could be a Republican and take the red. And what did he choose? He chose to be a Republican and fight for the best side, right? But to me, that's definitionally what the red pill is to me. So it's like if you take that approach, he just beat me off of saying that there's hidden axioms and. We got into this. I feel like I want to run it back with Mo and see who will win this time again. So it's like, I don't know. I'm kind of a sore loser in that way where I want to debate him again to kind of take that win back that I thought maybe I could have had. So.
Yeah, no, that's good. Again, it goes to your competitive nature. You know what I mean? But that's a good thing. But that's a good, that's a good argument that you took using the Bible in order to cite like, oh, see, look, red pill does take from Christianity right here. I thought that was a pretty interesting. I'm gonna have to go and watch it. Like I said, I haven't watched it yet, but I think I'll go back and watch that just to see how it went.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember when you had your debate channel come out. I think I might have been one of the first debaters. Was it Andrew Wilson or me?
No, you were the first one. It was you and that one guy. I forgot his name. Huh?
I forgot what he was, but he kept interrupting and he was just so bad. You had to mute You had to mute us in that debate. It was just so bad faith.
I had to put the timer too. The timer on too.
Yeah, you had to put the. This is so bad, and this is why I like debating people who are used to doing debates and who like Rachel Wilson's debate recently. Her intro opening statement that's supposed to be non-interrupted was interrupted twice.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, of course it's going to piss James off. And then she started cursing at James. And I'm like, oh, this never ends up well when you curse at the moderator and then you interrupt people's opening statements and all this. And it's like, of course he's the moderator. He's going to say, well, if you're going to do all this, cam up then. And then when she refused to, it's like, then it's all bad. It's World War III. But it's like, I got into an argument with somebody, not an argument. We got into a little debate. It's somebody online. And he was like, well, you know, just because she didn't cam up doesn't mean she's cheating. And I'm like, okay, well, let's concede the cheating. Show me a debate where somebody interrupts twice and curses out the moderator and it goes well for them. I'll wait. So, but if you think about it like this, even if we concede the whole cheating thing or whatever, like on the optics, she looked like she was violating all the rules of this channel and even went to attack the moderator, which is crazy. But like we have to think about this. Like on your channel, that's what happened. The same thing happened. The guy kept interrupting. I don't know if he interrupted my opening statement, but I wouldn't be surprised if I remember that he did or not. But that ended up pretty good debate, I think. I think I won that debate in the poll. I think you had a poll then too.
Yeah. As far as I know, you've won every debate that you've done on my channel. And so
Yeah, I think I've won every debate on Speakeasy's channel except for the one against Mo. I've won every debate on Wick's channel except for the one against Destiny, according to my peers. So if I'm wrong, anybody else chime in and tell me if I've ever lost any other debate. This isn't like an act of hubris of me saying, oh, I'm undefeated and all. I can... Humble me, please. If you're a really good debater and you find a great topic, I'd love to debate you because you're just going to make me better. I think we should run towards adversity and run towards gunfire and bullets, proverbial bullets and stuff. I think that it's very important for men to do that. Men these days, they don't do that. They run from adversity. They run from discipline. They run from challenges. And they run to a couch and Cheetos in their mom's basement. I'm totally against that. Inactivity is one of the biggest diseases we have in America right now. And I'm actively fighting that right now, trying to be a walking example of that. And I believe everybody else should too.
Yeah, I completely 100% agree. Do you have it? What are your next debates coming up? Do you have any?
Right now, I'm working on this program, Woke Autopsy, right now. And I'm also working on TPNN, the Trash Pen and News Network. And we're rolling this out. I've got some DI correspondents coming. We have a correspondent that's also a fellow coon. She's going to be on. And we also have, of course, they're all animals. We have a snow bunny that's coming on board. You already know what kind of race that's going to be. So,
yeah.
We have all this, but it's like, not only do we have a great theme, but we accept everybody, man. We TPNN, we're going to give you the best coverage you've ever seen. But also we have debates happening all the time. Also, there was a debate for a no-show that I had last month against an Agent Smith that was supposed to show up. He was a no-show. It's the first time somebody's been a no-show to a debate with me. Liberal. I know there's a Agent Smith in the Crucible, but this is like a very liberal Agent Smith. If you're out there watching, please don't run from this fade. Like, I don't want you to run from the fade. Let's run this debate back because you missed it. I don't know if you were late for the appointment like Mass Pike Miles was, but if you can, you are going to debate ICE is a net negative for the country. That was going to be the debate prompt. And I'd love to debate why that is. So yeah, I look forward to that one if that is going to happen.
Yeah, man. These debate prompts sometimes are wild. Like you see the Circa versus Rob Knorr one that happened recently on the Knorr prompt, the Knorr prep.
Yeah, that was great. That was a long. Yeah, let me tell you what. I don't know what Rob is drinking, but he better throw in some Gatorade for these marathon performances he's doing. He better wear some Asics, some good running shoes, because this guy is lasting. He has an Energizer battery pack or something going on. I don't know how the guy does it.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it either. I call him like an Iron Man, dude, because he just Energizer bunny. He just keeps going and going. But that prompt was wild about how a secular nation is better for Christians than a Christian nationalist nation. I was like, well, this is like the wildest prompt I've ever seen. Like, how is that even possible? You know? And he didn't bring any arguments that changed my mind. I don't know if he did with you, but still, sometimes when you hear these prompts, it's like, oh, you know what? Speaking of you, Martae, I believe this one involved you. Remember, there was like a debate. It was like you and Rachel versus Soy Pill and Radical Coder, I believe. And the prompt was
destroyed them.
The death penalty, yeah. And that was another one where the prompt was like, this is why prompts are important, you know, because prompts could absolutely break you if you're not careful, you know.
Yeah, it was. I remember it was on She Who Shall Not Be Named network, her platform, and I remember her saying that this is the last debate Rachel Wilson's doing because Rachel was going to take a break, and also she was having some problems with her voice during the time too.
Yeah.
It was like, we're going to do this, and we're going to go all the bang, and we're going to destroy these two people. It was going to be Soy Pill, and I think it was Radical Coder.
Yeah.
And I remember that's like an opening clip that I have, and I was like, do you think that there would be more KKK in the South at night or less if this was the case? And then Soy Pill was laughing because he knew I just destroyed their whole argument. And it's like me and Rachel just went in, guns a-blazing. Those guys got destroyed during the whole debate. It was good. I loved it. Crazy prompt, though.
Yeah.
Alongside crazy prompts, yes. For somebody to argue against this is crazy. I think the craziest prompt that I've ever debated was marrying first cousins and the justification of this. That's probably one of the craziest debate prompts I've ever had.
Yeah. That was insane. But I'll never forget that one because it was pretty much like, oh, Soy Pill was like, well, I concede that, yes, a death penalty is a deterrent to crime. And then it's like, you guys were just like, well, that's the debate then. That's what the prompt is.
Yeah, that's the debate. Yeah, we said that's the debate. And I told him, I said, well, in Saudi Arabia, if people were offing gay men because of certain things, do you think there'd be more homosexuality or less? They're like, well, there'd be less. It's like, come on. How many times are you going to concede this whole debate? Like, it was like I was telling them that during this whole debate. And I was like, I just gave them a simple premise and they kept falling into it. And it's like, Ryan wasn't any help. So it was like us versus Soy Pill, really what it was. So yeah, it was an interesting debate.
Yeah, it was you guys versus Soy Pill. But Soy Pill's the one that conceded. Ryan was still trying to like, well, no, wait a minute. Like he was still trying to save it. But
he was in denial. He took the blue pill.
Yeah, he was in denial. You know, he was still trying to be like, well, wait a minute. No, well, wait a minute. But Soy Pill even was even like, well, no, yeah, it is a deterrent, man. And then that was it. That was the debate.
One thing I'll say, though, is I've debated Charlie. It was me and Fatty versus Charlie. And we whooped the shit out of them. It was Charlie and or Chuck. Me and Fatty versus Chuck. Fatty didn't help me out too much, to be honest. So it was like me versus these two women on the liberal side on Wick's channel. She got destroyed. That's still on my channel. And then I was like, hey, there's this debate that's coming up, Andrew. I was wondering if we could team up. And then Andrew was like, sure, let's do it. And then next thing you know, I had contacted this guy who worked for the LA Times. And I was like, I knew how to source liberals from threads. And when I sourced this guy that was a reporter, journalist for the LA Times, he was the guy that I found because I discovered him with Charlie. And I forgot what that was, but Andrew had brought up his famous quote saying, you know, there's an island off the coast of
Papua New Guinea.
Papua New Guinea. And he was like, have you heard of this? I was like, I already know where he's going to go. But just understand, though, I will say this, though. There's this massive distinction between me, and this is why I'll say that I'm a D-level debater. Even though I don't lose a lot, I'll just say that and be humble. It's because when you put me against somebody, even a partner with somebody like Andrew Wilson, I become mute. And the reason why I become mute is because you're almost at a halfway point of like, am I going to be a speed bump and get in his way? Like, I don't know what points I'm going to bring up because the last point he brought up was like, damn, I couldn't have said it better. And the whole debate, you're saying I couldn't have said it better when Andrew was talking the whole time. It's like, you have to think about it like this. How can you outdo your partner to some degree or give a better point? That's Andrew. This is the Michael Jordan of debate next to you. And you're like, okay, I have to offer a more compelling point than he just made somehow. Yeah. Good luck, bro. Good luck. And Chuck had said this. She was like, you didn't say anything during the whole debate. And I was like, I was sniping. I was in the back sniping. And it was like, I didn't know. Because it's like, that's Andrew Wilson, bro. I think that if you have Andrew Wilson as a partner, and you're doing the debate and you don't say anything, I understand.
Yeah.
Andrew Wilson is like debating 5 people in one. Good luck, man, having a word in, because if you're going to think that you're going to offer a more compelling argument than the man himself, good luck, man. Because I wish you the best. It's tough.
Yeah, I know. I remember, I think when I reviewed that debate too, I was like, oh, it's an easy night for Martae because, it's going to be Andrew just cooking the whole time. But, I totally understand because, it's like, it's Andrew Wilson. And it's like, it's at that point, it's like, oh, am I only going to be hindering him or whatnot? Like, what more could I really do here? Andrew's pretty much a one man. Like you said, he could take on all of them at once, So, yeah.
The guy's doing like debates at DebateCon, Andrew versus 5 people, things like that. So that's where I had the debate idea. And I was like, I'm just going to just battle 2 people. That's when I had Mr. Work and Menard come on.
Yeah.
And I think I had another 2v1 debate. I forgot where that was too. Right after that, I had another 2v1 debate. Where the hell was this? It was somewhere, either somebody didn't.
Martae. Martae.
It was one of those situations. I forgot what it was, but yeah, that's one of the debates I had on your channel. It was a handicap debate. It was me versus those 2. And I was like, I don't mind doing this because I felt like that was my way of redeeming myself for being quiet and mute during the whole Andrew Wilson debate. So if somebody says, well, you didn't really say anything, but I was like, I did a 1v2. I can always revert back to Vic's channel and say, look at what I did here. You can't tell me I'm mute if I'm destroying 2 people in one debate. It's just me. I'm outnumbered. You're supposed to beat me because you have numbers on your side, but it's like, nope. Yeah. So that ended up being pretty good. But I ended up doing another 2v1 debate after that. I forgot where. It's probably on my channel somewhere. I got to look. I've done so many debates. But yeah, there was another one after that where I destroyed 2 other people. Ended up being a pretty good debate too.
Nice. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like you said, like no one could really blame you for not really saying much if you're teaming with Andrew. Like I said, he could, he's a force. He's an absolute force. Yeah, what do you do?
What do you do, bro?
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think you doing the 2v1 was definitely you challenging yourself, and I think you did pretty well handling Workademics and Minar. I think that was a good showcase for yourself and a good way to test yourself.
Minar is a lot to deal with, mind you. And then Mr. Work was like, and think about this. Minar was probably like the more rational one here because Mr. Work kept almost bombing his own arguments for Minar. And it ended up trading off because one ended up destroying their argument and then it switched off.
Yeah.
It switched off, and I was like, you guys are both trying to save each other's argument and bail each other out. So I was like, so you guys are doing some of my work for me on your end. Brilliant. I love it.
I'm trying to remember, but I remember there was one point that they made, and it's like, dude, are you really making that argument? I forgot what it was, but it was like so absurd. And I was like, God, I don't remember what it was, but it was like, you even called her out. So you're like, so wait a minute. So you're saying this is what happened. And they're like, yeah. And it's like,
and then it was like I was like, are they going to have some infighting? Yes. I was like, are they going to have infighting? Because all that's going to do is make my position look even better. But that's the thing that I'm looking at right now. And you know what's a good idea, Vic, to be honest with you? I think that a good idea would have a panel and just say, I want to debate this, and anybody that comes up. First Amendment actually has a good idea. Hate to say this, you guys can hate me now, but I can explain why. The reason why I think First Amendment has a good idea, he says, come debate a liberal. Notice how general this is? Well, First Amendment, I don't think it really works well for him. But normally on any other normal person, this should work to further development as far as debate. Random people coming up and challenging your ideas. Because now your ideas are going to be stress tested against the masses, against panels, against nobodies and people like that. Now you're going to be able to formulate a better argument and fine tune it and refine it over a period of time. First Amendment, not really getting better. I don't understand that. Maybe he must be a sadist or a glutton for punishment. But yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think that maybe that's something I should roll out in the future too, is formulate something like come debate me. But it has to be when all these other detractors and people that want to sabotage are way behind me, though. Not now, of course.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the only thing. It's like, yeah, because I could see you doing that and being good at it. Is just, yeah, like you said, you got people that are looking to kind of sabotage you and attack you. So, you know, maybe when all that die, I think it's starting to die down, but when it dies down even further, I think that will be best for you to start doing that. But I think that's actually is a good idea to do that.
Yeah, that's why I held the stream yesterday. I think drama that is unnecessary is not good for a channel. I showed graphs on how it hurts you monetarily, on how it causes burnout of a channel, on how, not to mention this, but it's the equivalent of fast food that you're giving to people because it's devoid of any value, right? And also not only this, but it creates a short attention span. People rubberneck to your channel, but then when it looks like it's repetitive beef, they turn away. And then your own viewers will say, oh my gosh, such a toxic drama channel. You're going to have those people evacuate stage left from your channel, and they're not going to want to be associated with that when all you're noticing is this channel's associated with drama. Not to mention this, but you're farming from a source that's very conditional. Mm-hmm. You're talking about debating people, not ideas or anything that's a concept. These things get old very fast. They do. And then things fall apart. Your channel collapses from the inside. And then not to mention this, but your own people will eat you alive. They'll call you a contrarian if you come at them. You see how you're held to the same standard because now your whole platform is just attacking people. So the reason why I did this is to also explain why I'm not attacking other people and why I'm not going to do this. Because once you do this, you let a green light and say, you know what? Come attack me now because I did this. So now they can place the blame on me for why they can attack me. But if I never attack them, I become a martyr. And I could say, well, I can now block you, and I can have justification for moving forward. And they'll forget it because they're not getting their inherent response that they're trying to feed off of. If you don't give them a response, and if you don't acknowledge your existence, it becomes very vaporous.
Yeah, no, I completely 100% agree, man. I wanted to, because the show is called Woke Autopsy. I wanted to ask you, like, have you ever always been like right wing, or is it something you came to? Like, was there a turning point, or were you just did you always have these views?
No, I didn't have these views all the time. I was a woke liberal, and actually I was a crystal collecting shaman, grandmaster, and right-hand Reiki yoga instructor in Sedona.
Holy crap. Damn, so you were just completely on the other side, completely.
I should have actually bought a Prius to complete the whole setup. I should have did.
I know, right?
I was leading a retreat, and I was making like a shit ton of money a month because tourists and people would fly in from Colorado, all over the world to go to this retreat. The person who I learned yoga from was the Tony Robbins of yoga up there, and that's where I was certified, and I learned all this stuff. And this is when I had kind of like renounced bodybuilding for a period of time and lost all the size. And then I woke up one day, I was doing this I think it was like a breathing exercise with the whole group, because we bring our mats out on this glass on this grass and everything. And I was like imagining, and I said, well, somehow we get these ideas as men in our imagination, our minds wander. Well, good thing it did this day because I left it all behind. I said 200 years ago, or maybe even 500 years ago, what if there was a warring tribe going over this hill with the grass, over the Sedona rocky red, hills, mountains, and all this other beautiful place. But there's a warring tribe going over this hill, and they wanted to attack us and then steal our women. Well, there's only like 3 guys there. There's me and 2 other guys. Well, the guys have the same physique as the women because, of course, they're naturally vegan and hopped up on tons of soy. And then there's like 37 women there. And I'm like, we're screwed if I'm the only defender. And then I looked at my physique and I was like, damn, I'm about to look like one of these geeks here. And I said, we would be decimated. And then I deeply thought about this and said, wait, hold on. We always talk about divine femininity here. How come masculinity never gets brought up? We're guys here. Where are we supposed to go? Wait, hold on. I'm leading this whole group. And it's like this whole revelation happened. And I was like, damn, man, I need to go find divine masculinity, whatever that was, because I was so far from Christ, so far from everything else, that I had noticed that I was participating in one of the biggest narcissist grifts ever. That was a pyramid scheme. And that's all it is. When you're a part of a spiritual community that is saying you can do no wrong because Mars is rising over Jupiter, and you could blame it on being an Aquarius because that was just the off week that you had, you have no accountability, and it turns you into the narcissistic person. And when you can pawn off accountability to everybody else because maybe the stars weren't aligned that night and you haven't meditated good enough, you're basically deifying yourself if you can forgive your own self and just say that you're always constantly right. So all these women up there at that retreat were calling themselves goddesses. See where I'm going with this? You're basically deifying yourself, and you're turning into a narcissistic personality at the same time. I noticed what I was becoming, and I said, you know what? I got to leave. So what I did was I gave my Rolodex over to somebody, and they said, wait, you're going to leave? You're going to leave all this behind? You have a ton of appointments, and you're going to lose a lot of money. And I said, well, blame the universe. Blame whatever it is you want to blame. Yeah. And I drove all the way to Phoenix, where I had like my condo. Drove back to the condo and said, you know what? I'm done with this shit. I said, I don't know what it is to feel like being a man because I didn't have a father growing up. I was surrounded by women. So what I did was I surrounded myself by more women and did breathing exercises and learned all these spiritual practices that really don't do bunk for me. So I went, signed up for a boxing gym, and got punched in the face. Pretty soon I learned that you have to defend yourself and you have to protect your breathing, not yoga breathing. But if you get out of breath, you get destroyed in a boxing ring. So pretty soon I started doing this, and that's when I started eyeballing Muslim or Islam. And that's around that time that I started looking at that. But that began that journey, and that's when, luckily Andrew Wilson's the person who introduced me to Orthodoxy, and here I am now.
Wow, yeah, fascinating. Yeah, I think that's like a similar story to a lot of it. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people in our sphere that maybe have always been right wing, but I'm also because I'm the same way. I also used to be a huge fucking libtard, and so my journey to where I'm at now started like around when Trump was running for president, and when I started seeing about how the media lied about so much shit. And I was just like, well, shit, if they're lying about this stuff and blatantly lying, what else have they lied about? And yeah, it's a game changer. So I'm always interested in hearing people's stories about if they were always this way or if there was a turning point in their lives. So that's fascinating. I didn't know that you collected the crystals though, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, I not only collected crystals, but I also I meditated. I did a lot of inner work, as they said. I did a lot of stuff, man. I had crystals. I had I was a grandmaster in right hand Reiki. I'm actually supposed to be on a TV show called Almost False, and I'm supposed to be talking about all this on that TV show. Yeah, but it's very interesting, man. We can go down paths of like different belief systems only to arrive at one with what you shouldn't do. So that way you can tell other people so they don't make the same mistakes you make. But I think that that's the whole story of debate. I think that when you formulate a whole set of experiences, you put this all together as a collective of information and data, and you sift through this and you filter this and say, this is what the consistent truth is. And whatever that is to you, you bring this to somebody else and they tell you why maybe that's probably incorrect. And you both come to some conclusion, but it has to be compelling enough to sway the masses. And luckily for us, we have audiences that tune into Cool Vic's program and also Martae Ruelas' programs that we have sometimes. And there can be people on the fence sitting at home and saying, I'm indecisive. I don't know what I believe. These people do exist, not blatantly like, I don't know what I believe. Do you believe in something? But maybe you're on a fence. And then you could tune into Cool Vic covering some footage. And next thing you know, you're like, you know what? Vic is offering some good points. I never thought about that perspective before. And next thing you know, they're more right leaning now. And that's what we want to do. It's like, maybe we're not going to change the mind of the person we're debating, but we're damn sure going to reach hearts and minds and change hearts and minds at home. To me, I think that's the whole premise of why we do what we do sometimes.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah. That's what I've learned too, is that when you're dating, when you're debating a person, your goal isn't necessarily to change their mind, but hopefully change someone that's watching, a neutral, someone that's not too far either way, that you can be like, oh, well, I never thought about it. I mean, that's why, that's how it was with Andrew Wilson. Like he said, like how you said, like he said a lot of things that I never thought about before in a way. And I was like, yeah, I've actually never thought about this, like force doctrine. I was like, that is just like a fact that I've never really realized before. And so when I see people nowadays that are like arguing against force doctrine or saying, well, it is true, but, or like, I feel like they're blatantly just trying to misunderstand it, but it's like really simple to comprehend. But I never thought about it before Andrew Wilson, like I never realized that. And when he pointed that out, I was like, yeah, that's actually true. There's no refuting it,
Yeah, it's very simple. Like the whole premise I told you earlier, like, a man can't lead and follow at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Just by saying this kind of evokes the idea of like, what does leadership mean then? If that's the case, if you can't do this at the same time, but then you start observing other relationships where there are men that try to do the same thing, but they end up screwing their whole dynamic up, at home, because now all of a sudden they're not a leader. They're just a conditional placemat for the woman at home. And it's like, that's bad. Like, you don't want that. So there's a subset of men who actually don't know what leadership is.
Yeah.
So that's why I do like having these conversations on different podcasts, like what that is. Fatty, bless his heart, he does have a lot of conversations and panels with a lot of Black community people. They have this conversation all the time. But I like venturing out, man. I like getting out there and talking about relationship dynamics, belief systems, things like that. That's really intriguing to me. But in order to have these conversations, sometimes we have to debate. We have to have arguments. We have to have structure, meaning a moderator, because sometimes these things get heated. They get emotional. As you've seen, the first debate that I've had in your channel when I was talking about marriage, and I did try to bring up the idea of, well, maybe let's say that there's 1% of Orthodox people out there. Well, they only divorce 9% of the time. But what if it takes a lot of hard work to get the clean water at the top of the hill, like I brought up? Are you willing to do the work to get the clean water, or do you want to get what everybody else is getting, which is the majority, because they don't want to buy into the 1% clean Aquafina at the top? But it's like any rational person would think about my hypothetical and think, yeah, it sure is a lot of work, but that's 100% clean water, and that's what we're promoting. We want clean water. How do we get it? Do the work. And if you're going to do the work, it means it requires more discipline. You're going to have rocky years in a marriage and relationship. It could be 3 years of hellacious arguments in marriage, but see yourself through to the other side to where you can say, damn, we survived. If we made it through here, nothing can tear us apart. What happened to that mindset? We need to bring that back. And that's through a lot of discipline. A lot of people in these communities, and Orthodox and, other communities, like there's the Indian community. They have a really low divorce rate too. I'm not promoting that, but surely they must have got something right too. So it's like, I don't know, but we have these arguments. There has to be structure. People that are moderators like you have to debate these people even too by muting them, shutting them the hell up, and creating the structure and creating boundaries. It's going to happen. But I think debate's extremely important. We need to have it in society. Without debating things, society is never going to function or move forward.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, when we stopped having such structure in our society, I mean, look where we're at now. Things haven't been for the better. It's actually gotten worse. So, yeah.
I think it's gotten bad. I think it's gotten bad because right now it's like, even right now we have a war that's popping off right now, and it's like, well, we could have been like the previous administration and just given them boatloads of suitcases of cash, but it's like, but to what end are we going to keep doing this? And then we're going to say, no, we're not going to be funding another person getting government. That's literally what that is. We're giving Iran government assistance. Like if you keep giving government assistance to somebody, they're not going to appreciate it. Like think about it. Let's say you have somebody that owes you rent, but you keep giving them a pass every single month. It's like, how much disrespect are you going to take? It's like, but that's what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. If you just keep letting them slide, it's like, well, eventually you got to put your foot down. You can't just keep letting them take advantage of you forever. So yeah, I completely agree. That's why I respect what you do, and that's why I want to try to up my game up. So, because I also want to try my hand at doing this too, and so I know I'm not like there yet, and I'm like improving, and I know what I have to improve on. But I'm like, man, I want to get to on level like Martae or like Rob or like Andrew. Like, I want to get on their level. Because Martae, if you're a D level debater, well, then I'm a fucking Z level debater, you know? And it's like, well, I got to get up to at least D level. That's where I want to get to, at least right now.
Well, you know where I got that from? I was in the Crucible Discord, and we have like debates that we do. So I looked at they have like a ranking system. I was a D level debater amongst them. So I'm like, damn, man, I must be like, that's where I get that from. So I'm like, I'm going to own this. You know, if I'm a D level debater, I'm going to own it, man. So, according to them, I'm a D level debater. The guy who's the spoon guy, who's on Twitter sometimes, I forgot his name, Aristocrat.
Oh, yeah.
Aristocratic Utensil ranks twice higher than I am. But I don't ever see him in debates somehow. But for some reason, he beats me out. And then Avarice is higher than me on that on the Crucible Debater Discord. He ranks higher than me. There's a bunch of other people who rank way higher than me. But I'm like, I'm D. Like, I'm down here somewhere. Like, and they're like up here. So it's like, damn, either I need to work a whole lot to get better, or I need to have more debates. So I was like, screw this. I'm just going to start doing more debates and try to get better that way. So, but I do want to ask you a question, because you've been asking a lot of questions. I'll throw one right back at you.
All right.
And this is just to get some introspection from you as a person that, for one, covers debates, because you've covered a lot of debates. You've covered the whole thing about the guy saying that Jim Crow laws are going to come back mysteriously. So that this weird premise and idea. You covered a lot of debates. You also cover a lot of news, who's who, some of the drama. You cover a lot. You're basically like the news channel right now yourself. So you might as well call yourself, like, what did you say? V1C?
Yeah.
You might as well do it already. But back to this question I want to ask. This is just so I can gain some introspection, externally from you. From an avid debate watcher and somebody that watches, reviews debates all the time, what is your blunt, brutal, honest perspective of me as a debater? You can be as brutal as you want to be. You know, Martae, you're trash when it comes to this. You're horrific when it comes to building analogies or world building and debates and examples and all that. Yeah, go ahead. Let me have it.
Honestly, the only thing, like I said before, like, not that you were terrible before, like you weren't, but I felt like your goal was mostly to go in there and kind of just like Bill Goldberg them, you know, spear them, jackhammer them, and then walk away. And I feel like where you have grown is just like you slowed down a bit, and you have learned to kind of like be patient and listen and then respond, instead of trying to like dominate and like speak over and cut them off. Like, I think you've gotten better at that. And so I think you've only improved. I don't see you getting worse anywhere. I think another complaint I had before that I haven't seen lately is that there have been times where like someone will bring up something where you could have granted them that, and it wouldn't have hurted your argument, but you kind of argued that. And it's like, I was kind of sitting there like, okay, Martae, like you could have just granted them that. It wouldn't have hurt your argument, but now you're kind of going into this argument over here where I don't think it's needed. And you haven't done that lately either. So I would say that you're actually improving greatly as a debater. I can't really think of any flaws that I see now. I think that there's nothing that I see now that I'm like, okay, Martae, you need to work on this, or you're trash on that, or something. You're coming a long way, and you're only improving. So that's what I got to say.
So as far as the good, that was the bad, but the good, like they're just decent, halfway decent.
Yeah, good. You're well researched. You bring up good points. Yeah, like you're well researched and you bring up good points. There's nothing really that I see where I'm like, okay, come on, Martae. Yeah, like there's nothing really that I could think of.
Okay, good. I'm always open for questions, comments, and criticisms when it comes to this. I do want to get better. So to answer, you had an original question, like where do you see yourself going with this, with debate and all that? So when I say I don't know, I do know that I want to venture out from YouTube, meaning like the environments I want to end up on. Like, I don't want to just like, because I sent you the thing that I was going to be on Tim Pool, the whole thing. I think I sent you a screenshot of the whole thing. I don't want to get into all that stuff and docs and do all that. But that was going to happen. The whole Jubilee thing, I'm supposed to be on like 2 more episodes. I need to branch out because here's the thing, though. People stay on YouTube and they never leave. They never leave. Now, granted, Jubilee's on YouTube, Tim Pool's on YouTube, Joe Rogan's on YouTube. What I mean by YouTube is like getting on bigger platforms. That's what I mean. Like, because Joe Rogan's on Sirius XM radio. Tim Pool maybe too. Jubilee is on other media, not just YouTube, but they also branch out as well too. So you have to think about this. We got to branch out from the community that we're in and not get trapped. Meaning, like, if you're doing a lot of infighting and just concerned with drama and all this, all you're going to do is be in a black hole and never leave, get commercialized, never get noticed outside of YouTube. Because let's face it, I can sit here and beef with somebody from the Panelverse one day, and then people could say, oh, they're really beefing and it's for real and they're really pissed off. That guy's going to go to work to his 9 to 5 on Monday. I'm going to go to my 9 to 5 the next day. And it's like, nobody else knew that this happened. All I did was hurt my brand, my channel. For what? To me, it has to be worth something. This is our time and our energy. You might as well take shots and try to aim higher. Get outside of YouTube, meaning like other bigger platforms like Jubilee, like I did, like go on Rollo Tomasi, like I did, go on other platforms. And I'll mind you, I'm supposed to get on there again with a guy named Sterling Cooper. So I'm supposed to go on there again. And then there's other platforms I'm supposed to get on. So I'm working on getting away from just being in my own corner of the globe. I need to branch out and get everywhere else. Meaning like if Rollo Tomasi is going to have another thing, I'm texting him, right? Because I could just send him a text and be like, bro, when can I be on, or whatever. And then this guy, I could just text him, hey, when can I be in your podcast or Jubilee? We have to branch out. You have to constantly keep working out. Think outside the box. Don't be afraid, because the worst thing that's going to happen is they could say, no, you can't be on my platform.
Yeah.
Exactly. The worst thing somebody's going to tell you, but why not take a shot and just do this? Like, I'm just saying, I want to implore everybody else, if you want to work at getting better, try to not be, boy. try to get boy status and break out, man. So
I agree with that. Going back to what you asked about like the positive things for your debates, one thing I will say is that you're good at coming up with actually alternatives. So for instance, with the whole repealing the Civil Rights Act debate that you did, you actually brought up your own alternative on what to do instead. Same thing with the First Amendment debate when he was talking about the reparations. He's like, well, how do you propose the reparations? And then you brought up your solutions, which he was like, well, that's not reparations. But it's like, well, it is reparations, actually. But then yeah, but that's what I mean. You're well researched in that you knew that was form of reparations, but you also thought of solutions, which people could easily fall into that trap of like saying, well, this is bad, or we shouldn't do this, or this should happen. And then they easily get asked, well, what would you do instead? And then it's like, oh, I don't know. But like you did that pretty well, I would say. Like you actually brought up alternatives and solutions. So that's good.
Yeah, we have to do that. Andrew Wilson has said this, and he's brilliantly explained this time and time again. He'll say things like, you have to beat people twice in debates. You have to beat them twice in an argument. One thing that you have to do is destroy their worldview. That happens, right? But then the next part of this is you have to fill that gap in, that void, because you just created a void. That's the second part of this, is being able to argue why this thing is more optimal, this replacement value, equal or greater value than the last thing that we just destroyed that's nonsensical, doesn't make any sense. So that's the replacement that we're doing. So in order for me to say why civil rights should be gone, we should eliminate this. In matter of fact, you can map this onto everything else in life. If I come home to a wife and all I do is bitch and moan and complain about a job, but I don't have a solution, all I'm going to do is breeding ground for resentment. And she's going to say, well, this isn't a leader. All he does is bitch and complain about work. But he doesn't get anything solved. You have to approach debate the same way. And you have to say, okay, if I want to repeal civil rights and why I think that this is weaponized against the very same people that it seeks to oppress, it has to be replaced by something. We can't just leave a void, because somebody else is going to come in and fill it with something maybe even worse. So now that I have this, the Unity Through Merit Act it's like, if we're going to have the Unity Through Merit Act, this is going to be more optimal because now we're looking at numbers. Even during the debate, the person brought up, he was like, well, what about our apartheid and all this other stuff?
Yeah.
Well, weren't there deaths? Yeah. And I said, well, if you're looking at deaths, we now have a number that we can look at. And if we're looking at numbers, wouldn't this metric be more in alignment with what I'm saying? Because now we're looking at numbers instead of feelings. We're looking at 937 dead bodies of Christians that were dead. Now we could say, because of the stats that show up, we now have a rational explanation on why to replace this regime or this system and why this system is now defunct. Just like my Unity Through Merit Act, we're now looking at numbers, infractions, and data instead of feelings and preferences. So that's all leaning in my favor for that. So it's like, that's the argument that I wanted to bring up, which I did. And it's like, during debate, you bring it up. You said, well, you at least had something to replace this with. I think that people need to think this through. The best way that I came up with this, Vic, was actually to think about arguing from his position. Well, you don't have anything anyways. Well, shit, what do I say to myself? Because I don't have anything. That's when I was like, well, I need to replace this with the Unity Through Merit Act. And that's what, but we have to constantly work this through, even from our opposition's point of view. I'm not a debate savant. I'm just a lowly D-level debater here telling you this right now. That's just my experience. That's it. Disclaimer, by the way.
Yeah, dude. No, that's actually some good advice. I'm actually going to take that into consideration when preparing for future debates, because that's an excellent point. Like you said, you need to beat them twice, and always like come prepared for things like that. So I absolutely agree with you, Martae. I gotta be going soon, Martae. I gotta go have dinner soon.
Vic, guess who just so he said, bro, I'm just waking up now. Sorry about that. I said we're still live. It's just like, bro,
dude.
Bro, wait, hey, if you gotta go, you gotta go. But he was like, I'll message you, man. I'm just gonna try to reschedule.
Okay. Yeah, I was just like, oh, dude, I gotta get going soon.
Yeah, I said we're still live. If you want, we can reschedule. But I'll message you, man. We'll figure it out. He said, bro, I woke up. Bro, the BP time, we got to fix that as a race, man. The Trash Panda News Network is going to work on this disease of colored people time. We're gonna fix this, man. We got to fix this growing epidemic, man. It's going to be solved pretty soon.
Yeah, hell yeah, brother. Got to get fixed. Got to get to work on that. But all right, all right, Martae. Are you going to be streaming for a little bit longer? Because if you are, I could rate everybody to you.
Yeah. I'll stream for about a little bit longer, probably like 30 more minutes. Yeah, 30. So
all right, hell yeah, brother. Sounds good. Well, I'm gonna end everything from my end. Let me know what goes on with Miles and what he says about rescheduling, but this was a great interview, Martae. I think this was a good insight into your background and everything. So at least we got something out of this episode, I say. I don't know what you thought about it.
Yeah, I thought it was a good conversation, man. It could be like a lead up, a teaser trailer for Miles when we have him on the episode next time. But we'll figure it out. Trust me, he's usually good about showing up on time and all this, but he's like, bro, I'm just waking up. I'm like, bro, we planned this like 3 days. Well, no, it was way longer than 3 days, right? Yeah, it was way longer. It's like a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So I don't know, but we'll get into it, man. No hard feelings for him, man. We're gonna try to see if we can get him on, but next week's schedule is already filled. That person's definitely gonna show up. He has a track record of showing up 100% of the time for sure. So we'll get him on. But if you guys are tuning in, you want to show up, you don't want to miss this next week's episode of Woke Autopsy. The person that is showing up has got an insane story for you. And it's so compelling. You don't want to miss it. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but be there or be square. You don't want to miss it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Don't miss this. Like I said, Martae is always hitting me up, telling me, man, I got this guy scheduled. I'm talking to this guy. You don't want to miss. Don't let this episode and what happened with our guest today deter you. next week it's going to be a banger. And when we schedule with Miles, I'm sure that's going to be a banger as well. So please tune into next week of Woke to Autopsy.
And also don't, like Vic tells you, like, oh, Martae tells me he's just going to have these people on. Vic, I send you screenshots, right?
No. And I didn't mean it to sound like that. Like, oh, Martae's just making up stories. Like, no.
Let me clear this up. That's what I'm saying. Let me clear this up, Vic. I send you screenshots of these people that I talk to and all that, right?
Yeah. I didn't mean to make it sound like, oh, Martae is just telling me fantasy tales or anything. No. Yeah. Martae does send me screenshots, or he does send me screenshots. He does send me the messages. I mean that sincerely, that Martae sends me messages telling me about the future guests. Yeah, I didn't mean to make it sound like any way like, oh, Martae just told me, and I'm just like, oh, okay, whatever, Martae. You know,
I caught that. I was like, well, it could be misinterpreted a certain way. Some of these celebrities do. I have conversations with some of these celebrities, and we have conversations. But I also, the reason why.
Did Martae just end himself? Martae's back. Martae's back. You're quiet. I can't hear you. You're mute. You're mute, Martae.
Okay, hold on 1 second real quick. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. The reason why I do this is because we know a lot of people in life that tell us things. Well, I met such and such before. Yeah, I've even heard this before in other terms. Like, when I was your age, I used to be just as buff as you were. Yeah, sure, Pops. Like, we hear these things all the time, but no. Whenever I'm having conversations with either like this guy who's a future platinum recording artist or other people, celebrities or pro athletes, I always send him this because I know that the inner skeptic lies beneath all of us somewhere, like it does, just to be honest with you. And it isn't just me doing this. It's just that I'm a person who always likes to have receipts about these things. But like I said, tune in next week for your co-host, Cool Vic and Martae Ruelas. It's going to be a banger. And you don't want to miss it. This is going to be the episode that you don't want to miss for sure. But anyways, I'm Martae Ruelas, and I'm one of the hosts of Woke Autopsies. You guys can find me on the Edge, which is OTE, ran by Martae Ruelas, and this is my co-host Vic, right here.
Yeah, that's right, everybody. And I'm Cool Vic. You can find me on my YouTube channel at Cool Vic, KEWL V1C. And if you look that up in any other platforms, you'll find me there too. So yeah, this has been a great episode.
Yeah, not too bad, man. Yeah, we'll talk and we'll get everything together, man. I look forward to having next week's episode. It's going to be a good episode. But like I said, be there, be square. But yeah, signing off. Well, I mean, I'll still be here, but Vic will be signing off.
Yeah, I'm going to rate everybody to do Martae. So everyone go to Martae's channel. Make sure you like that like button or else you're gay. And also send some donos as well. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, did you enjoy that video? I hope you did. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe or else you're gay. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. I'm just trying to save you from sin. Also, make sure you catch the Cool Stream live Mondays through Fridays right here on my YouTube channel. And make sure you follow me at any of these links down below for everything Cool Vic.